Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has now angered Malaysia.
Most of Japanese don't know Japan colonized Malaysia, and it's a shame I also didn't know by coming to Malaysia.
Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi decided to take a trip down memory lane, a lane paved with war crimes and historical denial. She went to Malaysia, and let's just say she didn't exactly go on a charm offensive, more like an ignorance offensive. Today we're going to react to some clips about this diplomatic masterpiece, and trust me, it's a doozy. Let's get to it.
Sanae Takaichi, the newly elected right-wing Prime Minister of Japan, went to Malaysia over the past week, and she tweeted this. Today I visited the Kuala Lumpur Japanese cemetery and offered flowers at the memorial monument. I feel deeply moved to have been able to pay respects to the ancestors who lost their lives in Malaysia. Following this, I also visited the National Monument to honor the spirits of soldiers and civilians who died in the two world wars and Malaysia's independence struggle, reflecting on Malaysia's history. So, why were the Japanese there in the first place? You know, what was did they invade and occupy them and rape women and girls and kill hundreds of thousands of people living there, local residents there? I heard that might have happened. And so, why did Malaysia have to fight? Who killed Malaysians during the two world wars? Like, you mentioned it casually without mentioning the perpetrators. And you went to the Japanese cemetery first, and then you went to the Malaysians who died during the struggle wars, their cemetery late after that. So yeah, Malaysian people are very angry at this post for rightful reasons, and this is what happens when you have a fascist prime minister.
Okay, so Takaichi visits a Japanese cemetery in Kuala Lumpur to pay respects to the ancestors? Ancestors? You mean the soldiers of an invading army that occupied Malaysia for almost 4 years? The same army that, according to historical consensus, was responsible for the deaths of over 100,000 Malaysians? She then, as an afterthought, visits the Malaysian National Monument. It's like a burglar visiting the graves of his accomplices before dropping by the victims' memorial to say, oops, and the nerve to talk about Malaysia's independence struggle, without mentioning who they were struggling against. It was you, Japan. The occupation of Malaya lasted from October 1941 to September 1945. That's a long time to be an uninvited and very violent house guest. Now, this is a calculated act of historical revisionism from a leader known for her nationalistic views. It's a slap in the face of every Malaysian who suffered under Japanese rule.
Most of Japanese don't know Japan colonized Malaysia, and it's a shame I also didn't know by coming to Malaysia. マレーシアの人が教えてくれました。One day I went to Sekinchen for seeing paddy field. I kind of feel like なんか日本みたいだな。I said, I feel like home. Did I come here before? And I got comments saying that actually your ancestor have been here and then did something not good. And I was like, what is they talking about? And I went back home and I called my friend, high school friend, and asked him what it mentioned in textbook. And he only mentioned about colonization in the Southeast Asia. Imagine that you're a high school student. Why you study is to pass the exam. It's only 2 lines saying that colonization in Southeast Asia. This is why I didn't know that, and I got surprised in Malaysia. And most of Japanese people are like this. Many Japanese come to Malaysia and then happy, gumbira, gumbira, sit up. But we need to learn the history as well. I can go Malaysian studying and learning about the history. On the other hand, I didn't know it. I didn't know Japanese soldier came to Kota Baru and attacked a few hours before the Pearl Harbor. I would say Malaysia and Japan are in good relationship. I need to appreciate the current situation and I want to know more about it. What I don't know, I want to know.
You see, this is what happens when a country refuses to teach its own history. This guy is admitting that most Japanese people have no idea that their country colonized Malaysia. And he's right. Japan's textbooks are notorious for glossing over the atrocities of World War II. The Sook Ching massacre, where an estimated 40 to 50,000 ethnic Chinese were systematically murdered in Singapore and Malaya, is barely a footnote. The forced labor on the Thai-Burma Railway, where 25,000 Malaysians died, swept under the rug. So when Japanese tourists come to Malaysia and are all happy, kumbira, kumbira, it's not entirely their fault. They've been fed a sanitized version of their own history. But ignorance is not an excuse, especially when your country's leader is actively promoting that ignorance. This isn't just a failure of education, it's a deliberate attempt to erase the past. It's dangerous.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has now angered Malaysia. Here's what happened. During the East Asia Summit in late October, Takaichi made a special visit to a Japanese cemetery in Kuala Lumpur, a cemetery where Imperial Japanese soldiers who died in World War II are buried. She laid flowers at the memorial, said she felt deep emotion, and claimed she was reflecting on Malaysia's history. But she never mentioned one thing: Japan invaded Malaysia, and tens of thousands of Malaysians suffered under Japanese occupation. That silence triggered outrage. Malaysia's leading scholars condemned her actions. The Dean of Social Sciences at the University of Malaya called her remarks historical revisionism that outturns decades of Japanese recognition of wartime atrocities. Another Malaysian expert warned, this attempt to repackage or sanitize wartime history is extremely dangerous. To many Malaysians, Takaichi's gestures wasn't about remembering the dead. It feels like honoring the perpetrators while ignoring the victims. And here's the bigger picture. For Southeast Asian countries that lived through Japanese occupation, history is not symbolic. It is a lived experience. So when a Japanese leader downplays their suffering, it sends a message that Tokyo may be drifting toward historical denial, and that hits a very raw nerve across the region. This is why Malaysia is angry, and why Takaichi's actions are seen not as diplomacy, but as a warning sign about where Japan's politics may be heading. I'm Luffy, doing a PhD in International Relations. Like and follow to be stronger together.
Takaichi's visit wasn't diplomacy. It was a political statement. It's a dog whistle to her nationalistic base and a middle finger to the victims of Japanese imperialism. The Dean of Social Sciences at the University of Malaya called it historical revisionism. And that's exactly what it is. Japan has a long and sordid history of this. After the war, they paid a paltry 50 million Singaporean dollars in reparations to Singapore. And even then, they called it a gesture of atonement, refusing to take legal responsibility or even apologize. And Takaichi is a product of this system of denial. She's a right-wing fanatic who has openly denied Japan's war crimes. So when she goes to Malaysia and pulls a stunt like this, it's not a mistake, it's a message. It's a warning that Japan is doubling down on its nationalistic fantasies. And the rest of Asia should be paying attention.
Is Japan sliding back into fascism? Just within the first 2 months of electing its first female Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, who is known for her alt-right nationalistic views such as anti-immigration, opposing same-sex marriage, denies war crimes, people on the internet are already complaining about the increasingly hostile political climate. Basically, any dissent or criticism of her administration gets so much hate online that people are calling it Takaichi fascism. For example, this person is saying that this country is so scary with public opinion manipulation suddenly ramping up like this. North Korea must be something like this, right? And here's another tweet I quote, "In today's Japan, if you criticize the administration, you get bombarded with comments treating you like a traitor to the nation. Honestly, this is a really dangerous sign." It's just really disheartening to see all these countries sliding back into ultra-conservatism, censoring speech left and right. Let me know what you think.
Takaichi fascism. It sounds like a joke, but it's not. When you have a leader who denies war crimes, promotes ultranationalism, and whose supporters attack anyone who criticizes the government, you're on a very slippery slope. The fact that people in Japan are comparing their country to North Korea should be a massive red flag. Takaichi's actions are a symptom of a much larger disease, a resurgence of the same toxic nationalism that led to World War II in the first place. And for a country that still refuses to fully reckon with its past, that's a terrifying prospect. We're not just talking about a tone-deaf politician, we're talking about the potential return of a monster. So there you have it. Japan's new prime minister, a woman who seems to think that history is something you can just rewrite to suit your political agenda. But the past has a funny way of catching up with you, and the ghosts of World War II are not so easily silenced. What do you think? Is Japan sliding back into its old imperialist ways? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more content that isn't afraid to call out the bullshit, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, bye.